broadcast of Formula Masters China Series program of 2014 from the Shanghai International Circuit. Coming up in the show today, we'll show you the battle between the two drivers fighting for the title, plus we'll hear from everyone else about their highlight of the year. And most importantly, we'll bring you all the action from the final race weekend here as we find out who will be crowned the series champion. The track is located about an hour's drive from downtown. This track is the first and so far the only F1 circuit in China. But the track these drivers will race on is a slightly shorter version of the F1 circuit. 14 turns instead of 16 and 4.6 kilometers in length. But before we get into all the action here, let's bring you up to date with the series so far with a look back at the series last time out in Zhuhai.
The big drama in race 13 happened early on as Matt Solomon and Dan Woodruff crashed out after colliding with Yin Haitao and Dama Hutomo in this incident, and Dan Wells also later had to retire. That left Jake Parsons, James Monroe and Yuan Bo in the top three spots, but jump start penalties for both Parsons and Yuan Bo gifted the win to Monroe as he increased his lead at the top of the championship. With Monroe's main challenger Matt Solomon starting from the back of the grid in race 14, things were looking even better for the Kiwi. But as Monroe struggled at the front, Solomon came charging through the field, and having started in 15th place, he found himself in 4th, right behind Monroe. Solomon made a move to pass on the final lap, but they came together and both crashed out in a dramatic climax. Meanwhile, Jake Parsons won a gripping battle with Chinese driver Yin Haitao to take the race win. Solomon knew he had to do something special in race 15 to make up ground on Monroe, but few could have predicted that the two cars would again clash on the track. And while Monroe fell to the back of the field and would finish out of the points, Solomon escaped unharmed and went on to win, closing the gap in the championship by a massive 20 points. In a rescheduled race from earlier in the season, Monroe's car was still damaged from the previous day's race, and Dan Wells was able to get past him at the start. Monroe was then forcing the pace but ran wide trying to pass Yuan Bo and fell all the way down to 7th. Wells finally took a race win after having 8 podiums earlier in the season, but Solomon in 3rd made up more ground in the standings, meaning that Monroe's lead at the top is now down to just 6 points.
It's been an incredible season. Who would have thought that after winning the first 6 races, James Monroe would be only 6 points ahead at this stage? Matt Solomon has been clawing back ground race by race to set up a nail-biting finale. Let's take a look at the two rivals and find out what makes them tick.
I'm feeling really positive actually, so I came in with a 6-point lead.
I've been absolutely pumped. I think we're in the best position now to strike.
I've just got to focus on what I'm doing and get my head down the races really and focus on winning a couple more.
What I need to do is just to win races and to finish in front of James. And then, if everything turns out right, we'll win the championship.
For me, for James, it's been his mental capacity, the way he can relate what the car's doing on the track.
I think in the fight, we've seen a few occasions where he's, buckled under pressure a little bit. But, there's no doubt he's quick and he's pretty good driver.
This weekend, we've been doing a lot of mind coaching with James, just trying to get him nice and calm so that he's not worried about what's happening on track.
Mentally, I'm very strong. Definitely, I learned a lot in karting in Europe and around Asia to sort of block out all the emotions and sort of try and get rid of the pressure.
Obviously, one, he's very fast, but secondly, I think now mentally he's very strong, and this has been quite a roller coaster season, but he hasn't let it get to him.
Matt's obviously a good driver. To push me that hard over the season. He's definitely very consistent.
The racing is very close and very tough, but what you don't want is any contact, because if there's contact, then there's a good chance that our car won't finish the race. So we want good, clean racing and try and avoid any contact if they can.
Given how tight the championship is, I think you always kind of get a little bit of frostiness between the drivers, but we're not speaking to each other or anything. We're still trying to be friendly to each other.
we don't have a bad relationship. Obviously, it's difficult to be really close friends with James. My relationship with some of the other drivers, where we started at 10, 11 years old, we've been racing all the way through. So it's pretty cool to have them in the championship as well. So even with my teammates, I have a very good relationship, but with James, it's a little bit difficult. I think we're okay.
I mean, we can see now it is extremely competitive on track, and that's great for the series. And obviously off track generally, we all get on very, very well. So after an on-track incident, maybe for a while, you don't like another team, but the good thing is the atmosphere is very good. Everyone's working together, and we're all here really to develop the stars of tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Ronald Wu from Zen Motorsport, and my highlight this year would be round 5 in Zhuhai, scoring the most points out of any driver.
Hi and welcome back. Joining me now, as always, on the grid is Mark Dreyer. Mark, the tension is really building here with this battle between James Monroe and Matt Solomon. James has already landed the first blow in qualifying.
That's right, he's qualified in P1. Now, alongside him on the front row of the grid is his teammate, Dan Wells. Then comes the big championship rival, Matt Solomon, in 3rd position. Looking further down the grid, we have 2 Meritus drivers in 4th and 5th. Philipp Hambrecht, the German driver, returns to the series here in Shanghai. He starts in 8th position. Watch out for the Japanese driver, Yuya Motojima. He starts in 9th. He had 2 second-place finishes earlier in the season, but hasn't raced since. And then towards the back of the grid, 15-year-old Aidan Reed from Australia makes his series debut.
James Monroe has a brand new car for this weekend, and he seems to really like it with his strong performance in qualifying.
That's right, he had some damage to the car in Zhuhai last time out, so that's partly why they changed it. But he was telling me it was also a bit of a mental thing, just trying to change the car to reverse that slide in fortunes. He was also suffering lingering effects from a concussion in Zhuhai after getting knocked in a game of rugby back home in New Zealand. So he's now back to full health, he says, so we'll see how that translates on the track.
Well, that was unfortunate. And what about Matt? He's also got a busy weekend here, also racing in the Audi R8 LMS Cup.
Yeah, and that can be mentally tough for a driver, having to switch between the single-seaters to the Audi GT cars and also staying focused for just twice that length of time in those race situations. But he does get twice the time on the track, so he'll be hoping to turn that into an advantage.
Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot right here. Who do you think will be crowned the champion in the series?
Well, if you'd asked me last time out in Zhuhai, I think I probably would have gone with Matt. Even though he's still behind in the standings, the momentum had swung almost entirely his way. But James has had such a strong performance in qualifying. I think he's taken the initiative back. Then again, with the series we've had and the season we've had all year long, I'm sure there's going to be a few more twists and turns.
Well, thanks, Mark. Let's go find out.
And the cars coming round to complete their formation lap. And that looked like Matt Solomon going off into the pit lane. That does not look good at all. So the 5-second board is out. All the cars are on the grid except for Matt Solomon. The lights go out and race 16 is underway. But James Monroe is sitting pretty now without his main rival for the title. So 2 by 2 by 2, 3 sets of teammates at the front into this first turn. Monroe, Wells, Martono, Parsons, Yinhai Tao and Ronald Wu, but Hambrecht looking to go past Wu into 6th. Philipp Hambrecht, the German driver in the white car there, moving up past the other Zen Motorsport car into 5th place now. And that looks like Yuya Motojima spinning out. That'll bring the safety car out early on. And still no sign of Matt Solomon. That is Bao Long in the pits. And you can see Matt Solomon's car still getting some work done in the pit lane. This is a disaster for him. So the green flags are out. Back to racing. Monroe, Wells, Martono and Parsons are the front 4. And this is all falling into place for championship leader James Monroe there. Solomon finally gets out on the track, but you feel it's going to be much too late, barring a miracle. You have to wonder what's going through Eurasia boss Mark Goddard's mind. The KCMG boys will be much happier right now. So Monroe still unchallenged out in front. Then comes Wells. Jake Parsons moving wide on the left-hand side of the screen, going past Dan Wells and Anderson Martono from 4th to 2nd. Incredible move there from Parsons. He's been lightning quick since joining the series midway through the year. Anderson Martono now all over the back of Dan Wells, going wide. trying a bold move around the outside. Can he make it sting? No, he goes too wide, and Hambrecht comes through up into fourth now. Munro and Parsons clear out in front. Hambrecht tries to take Wells for third around the outside. Looking good for the German, but Wells is going nowhere. So James Munro moments away now from his 8th win of this season. He's got one hand on the trophy already and 2 more races to make certain of the championship. His crew celebrate as Munro crosses the line from Jake Parsons and Dan Wells.
Congratulations, James. Happiness, relief, what's your overriding emotion right now?
Yeah, just absolutely elated, to be honest. Like, I went into that race hoping to win, to take the pressure off a bit for the next couple of races in terms of the championship, and did exactly what we needed to do. So just awesome job by the team. They're giving me a great car, and couldn't be happier.
Matt, tell us what happened there at the start.
Yeah, I was just on my warm-up lap. I was doing the normal procedure, went down 2 gears, and the gear lever stayed in my hand. Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate to end our race like that, but I tried to go back out and do the best job I could to get a good qualifying position for race 2. Okay, it doesn't look good for the championship, but you never know what can happen.
So James Munro's win in race 16 means he needs just 4 points from the final 2 races of the year to claim the championship. 15 drivers finishing the race, the 2 Japanese racers unable to do so, with Kumita stalling on the grid at the start.
My name is Matthijs Hoytink. I'm the series manager for Formula Master China Series, and for me the best part this season was to see the development of the Chinese drivers.
Well, after that dramatic first race, James Munro is only a few points away from the title, and he starts on P1. But Matt Solomon is still fighting. Well, of course, it's not just about those 2. We have 16 drivers joining the second race. Mark, how did the rest of the drivers line up?
Well, Viviana, as you know, James Munro starts on pole today alongside Jake Parsons on the front row of the grid. Then come Matt Solomon and Philipp Hambrecht, the German, continuing his good race weekend in 4th position there. Dan Wells and Anderson Martino on the 3rd row, and Star Racing Academy driver Yuen Bo starts in 7th position. At the back of the grid is Japanese driver Yuya Motojima, who wasn't able to record a fastest lap time in the earlier race of the day. And then his countryman, Juji Kumita, not lining up for race 17.
Thanks, Mark. Let's check out all the action.
And the lights go out for race 17 here of the Formula Masters China Series. Parsons looks to have got the jump on Munro at the start. Matt Solomon goes wide, Philipp Hambrecht looking to pounce. Parsons and Munro wheel to wheel around that first turn. Parsons comes out on top, Hambrecht up into 3rd, Solomon down in 5th. Not the starts he wanted or needed. The cars spreading themselves wide down this long straight. Philipp Hambrecht in the white car in the middle of the screen, looking to go back into 3rd place. Damahu Tomo on the left-hand side, passing Anderson Martino to go up into 6th. So Matt Solomon in 5th place, looking to move up the field. And Anderson Martino takes a spin into the barriers. And 2 more cars out. That is Yinhai Tao and Senna Iriwan. It's all happening here. So the safety car will be out for sure to try and clear the cars from the track in the side. And that is good news for James Munro, bad news for Matt Solomon. And James Munro has missed the turn there. Seems to be on an entirely different track. But manages to get back into the action. Well, the car's threading the needle there. Solomon going between them on the track. And he needs them cleared more than most. Only a 7-lap sprint, and he needs to win or come second. He's in P5 at the moment. So back to racing, and Munro looking very, very good here to claim the championship. Just under 3 laps to go. Parsons from Hambrecht at the front, but Munro in 4th will claim the title if he stays there. Solomon going past Munro into 4th as if to make a point. But Munro will be happy enough knowing he's moments away from the title now. Hutomo running wide down this long straight, trying to get past both Munro and Solomon on this final lap, but he's not going to be able to do so. Jake Parsons will take the win from Hambrick and Wills, but James Munro gets the points he needs to become the 2014 Formula Masters China Series champion.
Congratulations, James. Was that the best 5th place you've ever had?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would take the title over a race win any day. But no, it was another good race. Just lost the lead at the start, and then it was a bit of a battle from there, and seemed to, just struggle a little bit. Actually had a bit of an off, so it was lucky we managed to keep 5th, but it was enough to wrap up the title. So yeah, very happy.
So Jake Parsons takes the win, Philip Hambrick with his first podium of the season, but James Munro in 5th has done enough to clinch the title. 3 drivers not finishing: Senna Iriwan, Yin Haitao and Anderson Martono.
Hi, I'm Sandy Ma from Star Racing Academy. My biggest moment of this season was Yuan Bo on the podium.
It's been a fantastic season all year long, and there's just one more race to go. I'm here with Mr. Dominic Linker, Director Motorsport of Volkswagen Group China. Dominic, what's been your highlight of this season?
Well, definitely the fight between 3 very fast young drivers, Matthew Solomon, James Munro and Dan Wells. Up to the last weekend, we really were fighting, or they were fighting for the championship. This has been decided, but it kept a lot of people on alert throughout the season.
And looking ahead to next year, what do you have in store for us for 2015?
2015 already starts here, where our GT racing brands try to scope new drivers from Formula Master China Series. We're going to have a winter racing series in Sepang at the end of January that's going to help teams identify and get new drivers. It's going to help drivers get familiar with the Formula Masters car and the environment. And then we're going to be in 4 different countries all over Asia, namely China, Malaysia, Indonesia and Japan. And I think it's going to be great. But before we look to 2015, let's finish 2014 season with the last race in front of a grandstand with great people and a full grid.
I think that's a good idea. Thanks, Dominic. Well, sounds very exciting. Okay, let's go and join Mark now, who can run us through the starting positions.
Well, Viviana, James Munro may have already wrapped up the championship, but I can tell you this is still going to be a competitive race, as evidenced by the fact that the top 10 drivers on the grid were all within 1 second of each other in the qualifying session, and we've seen similar results all year long. Just looking at that grid, we have Jake Parsons and James Munro on the front row. Then come Dan Wells and Anderson Martono. Japanese driver Yuya Motojima in 5th will be looking to make up for his disappointing performance earlier this race weekend. The top Chinese driver is Yuan Bo. He has wrapped up the top Chinese driver award already and starts from 8th position. And just wanted to have a quick word about young 15-year-old driver Aidan Reid, who's come into the series from Australia with a view to perhaps joining full-time next year. Pretty limited experience, but he's taken to the series very, very well. And just another example of one of the young drivers from the Asia-Pacific region who are keen to join the Formula Masters China Series.
Well, thanks, Mark. Let's go and check out all the action.
The final race of the 2014 Formula Masters China Series gets underway. Jake Parsons leads at the front on the right-hand side of the screen. He'll take the lead into T1. Then come Munro and Wells. Wells up to 2nd around the outside of James Munro. Those 2 Cebu Pacific Air by KCMG teammates still fighting. Wells just holding on for 2nd position. And Dan Wells diving down the inside of Jake Parsons. Parsons trying to come straight back in him, but Wells is going to make it stick. Here comes Parsons. Wells from Parsons. James Munro tucked in 3rd place. Taking a look at Parsons now, right behind him. Parsons pulls away at the end. Dan Wells still with the lead here. And Motojima on the left-hand side of the screen looking to go wide and go down the inside of James Munro up into 3rd place. Looks to have made it stick. Here comes Munro right back at him. These drivers trying everything in the last race of the year. Back to 3rd place for the Kiwi. And Motojima again clashing with James Munro. This time, He looks to be holding position. So Dan Wells takes the win from Jake Parsons, and Motojima just pipping Monroe for third.
Congratulations, Dan. Talk about the move that you overtook Jake to take the lead.
It was an amazing race, and I think lap 2 or 3 I was on the back of Jake, and I was always going to make that move, and then managed to keep him behind. The slipstream effect, I was barely getting 6th gear by the end of the straight because of the wind, but probably my best race victory yet.
A second win of the year for Dan Wells, Jake Parsons in second, and Yuya Motojima bookending the season with podium finishes. Guamiao at the back of the field in 13th, with 3 cars unable to finish the race.
There has been a lot of action this weekend. Let's go and check out the Masters Pass.
Today's Masters Pass comes courtesy of Jake Parsons on the left-hand side of the screen, going past 2 cars on the inside, up from 4th into 2nd. So James Monroe winning the title by 28 points from the end, but it was far from comfortable, with Matt Solomon pushing him all the way and Dan Wells in 3rd. In the team classifications, Cebu Pacific Air by KCMG with 384 points, comfortably winning from Eurasia and Meritus. Yuan Bo was the top Chinese driver, followed by Yin Haitao and Pu Jinjin.
We've come to the end of what's been a fantastic year at the Formula Masters China Series, with James Monroe crowned the 2014 champion. James, what's the single biggest memory you will take from this year?
I think the best moment for me was actually back at the 3rd round in Injay, when I won the first race of the weekend to make it 6 in a row for the start of the championship. So that was definitely a very good moment for me.
And I know that you've obviously done the business on the track with 8 race wins throughout the season, but your dad has been supporting you every step of the way, behind the scenes, coming to every race. What kind of influence has he had on your racing career?
Yeah, well, Dad travels with me everywhere, and it's always good to have him there just to talk to, and he's an experienced racer himself, so it's very useful having him around, and I've had a lot of support from my family, so it's been really useful.
Thanks, James, and congratulations again. From all of us here at the Formula Masters China Series, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all again next year.